Welcome to Stone Cold Stros. I'm Brandon Strange. I'm joined by Charlie Palillo and Josh Jordan. Follow them on X at Palillo and at Josh Jordan 975. And make sure you're reading their columns weekly on sportsmap.com. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit like on this video to support the hometown team and hit subscribe if you haven't already, because we know that over half of you that are watching right now have not yet subscribed. You know who you are. That aside, we do appreciate it. And if you're new to the show, hey, welcome in. And if you are new, you should know that the full version of this podcast is available in audio form right now at your favorite podcast app. Obligatory housekeeping out of the way. Guys, let's get into it. One of the things that Dusty Baker was notorious for was the constant shuffling of the lineup. Joe Espada looks like he's bringing a new day to the Astros. Over the past few days, he said he wants Jeremy Pena to come to the ballpark and know where he's going to hit. He also revealed over the weekend that he's leaning towards hitting Jordan in the 2-hole, which is, as we know by analytics, the best place for your power hitter or your best hitter to hit. So I guess on the other hand, if Jordan's hitting in the 2-hole, he can't hit a 3-run homer off Jose Alvarado. But that specific scenario aside, guys, what do you think about what Espada is seemingly bringing stability to the Astros lineup?
Yeah, not in the first inning anyway. Jordan would be hitting 3-run homers. Look, it's just very refreshing. It's a generational change, right? From old school Dusty Baker, who wasn't completely old school, but much more so than not. Whereas Joe Espada is fresh-minded, just raised basically in the analytics generation. We'll go with Pena first. I mean, Jeremy might not be delighted that, hey, you want to know where you're hitting every day? It's probably going to be 8th, but that's all right. On a meritocracy basis, that's where he should hit in this lineup if you allow that they're not going to put Jose Abreu in the 8th spot unless he reestablishes himself as a regular season thumper. It should also ease a little pressure on Pena being at the bottom or near the bottom of the order. And then up top, generally speaking, I love it. You want your best batters to come to the plate the most. That Dusty ever had Jordan as low as the cleanup spot was ridiculous. On few occasions, he had him 5th, which was absurd. Second, Jordan you associate with 440-foot bombs, but Altuve leads off the game with a single or a walk. It opens up that right side with Altuve being held, and in the non-shift era, maybe that gooses Jordan's batting average another 10, 15 points over the course of the season. My one minor quibble, because overall I just think this is an outstanding development, that Espada's supposed desired 1 through 4 is Altuve 1, Jordan 2, Bregman 3, Kyle Tucker 4, which is righty, lefty, righty, lefty. If Tuck and Jordan are going to mash lefties the way they did last year, I wouldn't be hung up on rotating those 4. I would rather have a faster guy, Tucker, getting on for Bregman than vice versa. Specific example. Hey, the starting pitcher gets out Altuve and gets out Alvarez. Well, your number 3 hitter, Bregman, gets on with a base hit. He's less likely to score on a double to the left field corner than if Tucker gets on with 2 out and Bregman doubles to the left field corner. I'm not saying this is the clincher of the argument that it should be Tucker 3, Bregman 4, but I just like that Espada seems much more willing to tilt the prism, see different views, and come up with sound judgments.
I think it's a great development, especially for Pena. I mean, he had such a rough year, so much to worry about just struggling against that slider. You don't want him guessing if he's going to be hitting at the top of the lineup, bottom of the lineup, and the shot to your confidence when, he actually had a few games out of the 2-hole, and then he'd find himself batting 7th or 8th again, kind of for no reason at some points during the season last year. So keep the consistency and do it early. I like that he's saying this at the beginning of spring training, just like he said, Hader, you're going to be my closer at the beginning of spring training. Let guys know what the expectations are going to be. And yeah, Charlie's right. It's a younger, more youthful approach. I also like that he's going to be, a little more aggressive on the base path. He didn't really think they were great at that last year. That's something he wants them to improve on. So, and it's funny with the batting order thing. they're just locked into Altuve leading off, and I'm sure he'll end up leading off. But Bregman could lead off, or Kyle Tucker could lead off. They have a lot of other options, but they'll stick with Altuve, and I'm fine with that. Why mess with it? But he does hit for a lot of power, and Altuve does swing at a lot of kind of wild pitches. He could play well hitting second or third or something like that, but doesn't matter. No point in discussing that. I feel like that's locked in. But I love Jordan getting more at bats. If I'm a pitcher, I know if my first few pitches I'm a little wild and I walk Altuve, I got Jordan up with a 2-run bomb immediately being a possibility. So I like that. Put the pressure on the pitcher early in the game.
Now, of course, this is preconditioned on Altuve and Jordan being healthy all year and playing more like 150 games than in Altuve's case, 90 last season, in Jordan's case, 114. But the difference in batting second in the lineup versus cleanup in the lineup is roughly 30 plate appearances per season. Right? Alvarez is their best overall offensive force. I'll take an additional 30 Jordan trips to the plate versus basically anybody else. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, Pena 8, while Myers is the presumptive majority center fielder. He clearly bats ninth. So that leaves the 5, 6, 7. How will Espada process it? Will Abreu get the veterans benefit of the doubt and open the season in the 5 spot? And then you have Yiner and Chas McCormick. Whatever combination of the 3, that just needs to be meritocracy as you're moving forward. Whoever's swinging the bat the best, you want in a position in the lineup that he's coming up more. That occasional plate appearance, additional per game, could be the difference in a game or 2 or 3 over the course of a season.
Yeah. And Jordan doesn't steal bases per se, but he's not like he kills you out there on the bases where he's so slow. You're just like, oh, we can't have him hitting this high up in the lineup, or he can't score from second on a base hit. Jordan can still move around a little bit. He's just not really a base stealer.
Yeah. And regardless of whether it's third or fourth, Tucker higher in your lineup is a big deal for me, because I think having one of your best hitters hitting fifth for the majority of the year just seems criminal. And so if we assume that, let's say, Pena and Myers are at the bottom of your lineup, where do you guys think they're going to fit in Yiner, Chas, and Abreu? How do you think that gets ordered?
I would slot Abreu 7th starting the season. He had obviously the worst season of the 3. He's 37. Yiner's 25 years old, perhaps an ascendant star, real star, offensive superstar at the catching position and per game played. I mean, he ran laps around Abreu last year. I'm just very interested to see where Chas McCormick settles in, right? He had a breakout season as a way above average player, where he was in the range of, if you do that from the start of the season, you're going to at least get mentioned as, hey, is that an all-star reserve? Possibility type of guy. McCormick of those 3 runs the best. But I would want the highest on base percentage of those 3 in the 5 spot, and then additional thump coming after them, 6, 7. My guess is it'll be Yiner 5th, Abreu 6th, McCormick 7th. Maybe Abreu gets that benefit of the doubt, as I mentioned, 5th. But they're all 3 right-handed hitters, so there's not that platoon thing that'll factor into the decision making. And if you're going righty, lefty, lefty, Altuve, Jordan, Bregman, Tuck, well, then righties in the 5th spot, and that's covered. And then it'll be all righties the rest of the way through the lineup with their majority starting 9.
Yeah, I think I'd like to have Chas hitting behind Tucker just because he's proven it a little longer than Yiner has. He's, we saw Yiner struggle a little bit last year, swinging at some bad breaking balls. We saw what happened to Pena in his second year. So I feel like McCormick's a little more dependable in that spot. Plus, he's really good at shooting the ball the other way to right field. So if, Tucker's on second base, that should be an easy run right there.
And not enough sample size in Yiner's case that I would have the willies about it at this point. But Yiner had the reverse platoon numbers, right? Where Dusty would say, well, look how he's hitting against lefties. Yeah, and how many at-bats? McCormick leveled things out from where he'd been his first couple of years in the bigs, but McCormick basically slaughters lefties against righties. So maybe that swings it. McCormick up a notch or 2 against a left-handed starter, Yiner against the righty. And again, are you going to defer to Abreu's career resume as opposed to the more recent results?
All right, well, that's it for part 1 of Stone Cold Stros. To listen to the full podcast, it's up right now at your favorite podcast provider, and watch the rest of our conversation on YouTube. All you got to do is check out the Stone Cold Stros playlist. We'll be releasing those videos very shortly. Go Stros!